Real Lyric is a series of black and white portraits. Um, it consists of subjects holding mirrors that I am that I'm reflected in. The process of creating these images is one where I use a remote and an assistant that's looking through the viewfinder to make sure that I'm where I need to be. Um, the the piece is about power and influence, um, about inspiration and admiration. I am printing on 13 by 19 paper, um, Beretta paper, but the images are usually put in the images themselves on the paper are about 16 by 10. These are digitally captured with a Nikon D800 35 millimeter camera, high resolution at 36 megapixels. Um, so the quality of the print is actually comparable in a sense to medium format cameras, as long as it's printed within a a decent size. My influences are Dwayne Michaels for his mode of thinking, his way of communicating a thought. Um, that is, I would say, poetic and philosophical, but not surreal. It's very conscious and really deals with perception, and to some degree that while this project is not about that, it is really about a different way of communicating, and so that's why I really point to him as a way of simply looking at his work and being empowered with a way to seeing a way by which I can express myself within the medium, um, but at the same time in a different way. Uh, I use August Sanders as a way to actually like capture the subjects. So I kind of see it as a as a template of sorts. And there are many others, but those are the two that really are at the structural sense of the project as far as putting it together. There's also Roy DeCarava that I'll talk about later. The intent is to communicate the linguistic idea of relationships and their impact upon a given person. It's almost like a contradiction to existentialism. The world, in a sense, that the world is not indifferent. But um, while I do kind of subscribe to different elements of existentialism, this really points to a community in life. More of influences and references. I've really looked at realism and how realism turned into documentary photography and really influenced it, and the aesthetic or the non-aesthetic, and my own theories pertaining to what the images look like are really grounded back in realism, but then at the same time they really are a part of my poetic way of thinking and communicating. So in my mind things look this way. The world is a beautiful place for its reality. A lot of my work is really about consciousness, about the depth of consciousness, about where we can go through different modes of conception. So I really believe that my thoughts really meld and are in line and appropriate for expression through this way of looking at things, even when I work in color. The development of this project is really it really started with street photography, and I was really looking for humanism and something that you could feel, and with most means of communication, there has to be some type of contrast, and I really use the city even now, a lot to kind of show who we are against this structure and the structure itself, and can't be underestimated. I'm very conscious of the fact that I use this contrast of the rectilinear and the hard against the curvilinear and the soft and supple form of human beings. And I think that really says something about the power that we have and sometimes don't exercise. Um, and a lot of this I got from Roy DeCarava, formally and emotionally. And another way that I kind of started out and kind of still speaking to that was this idea of the parallel universe, and I was really trying to get closer to the this place where we feel, and I just was looking at reflections and shadows, and I was kind of using those as metaphor, and so you can see how that's still in the project that I'm working on, but it's it's taking up a different shape, but at the same time that work has remained consistent in my ideas about emotion and about who we are, but it's just communicated differently. And reflections are not surreal. This is a thought of mine. They don't have to be. It's just the form that we use, and many times doors and reflections and other different portals and thresholds can be seen as they're um, they can be about longing, but I think that there's something to you know um, reflection, as self-reflection, as something that we look into, as a mirror of who we are. But in my work, there was this chasm between narrative and form, and even when things were emotional, they weren't conveying my thoughts. And so, one day I was really, really thinking about it and how I could, make something different. And that's when I really thought about portraiture against these structures, and people in their own mirrors, these varied mirrors that they own, meaning that um, they impact my reflection, the form of it, and its contents even, um, by way of the varied means of reflection that we make together through them kind of holding it, holding my reflection. And as somebody that I respect, said, when people look at these images, they see somebody holding me. Sometimes they don't get it, but they not totally, but they see something there. And so I was just trying to get nearer to the conception of the thought, what I was trying to get out of it, this admiration, this love, but then this idea of power, that continues to be fluid, you know, um, and Michel Foucault talks about that, and that's one thing that I'm very fascinated by. And I'm continuing to think about August Sanders and and how I can vary the subjects and what that means and what that shows and the impact of that. And so in these last two images, I really thought that I could do that. Look at I had an older gentleman here, and then in the last slide I had, um, you know, three generations of people. I think I can enhance this project, possibly by using film, medium format, and then I'm thinking about compression also by using a telephoto lens. I've used a 50 millimeter for most of this, and I'm just kind of fascinated by compression and what that might mean as symbolically as far as space and time. Thank you.